I could have finished her off easy, but it's too soon. And I have no guilt. This is simple justice. Those men can't be forgiven for what they did. They wouldn't be punished at all if I hadn't found the journal. I finished it up there in the attic. I read so long my head was splitting. By the end, I knew Lila was writing only to me. Lila knew I was reading it. She knew.
The baby was born yesterday, right here in the trailer with the help of Buddy's doctor. But I never saw my baby. The doctor took it the minute it was born and gave me a shot. I was asleep in a minute or two, and when I woke up hours later, they were gone. All of them. Buddy came back later. He said the baby was in its new home. Then he put something on the dresser, said it was a gift from the grateful parents, and warned me that if I tried to see my baby or reveal who I was, I'd go to prison for a long time. When he left, I just sat there in the dark. Then I got up and walked to the dresser. I picked up the gift. It was a check for a great deal of money. I sold my baby. I didn't mean to, but I did. I tore the check into 1,000,000 pieces. They're here, those pieces, taped to the back of this book. They're proof of what happened. And I've taped in the names of the others who were involved, besides Buddy. So now I'm going to follow Tully. My child will be cared for, and I can only pray that the cruelty its new father showed me will not be exercised on my baby. Can such a man ever love? I can only pray that he can, he and his wife. Perhaps someday someone will find these writings and understand my story. In that hope, I'm hiding this journal in my secret place. And now I go to Tully with a prayer that he and God will forgive me.
That was the last entry. On the back cover, I found a small plastic bag fastened with yellow cellophane tape, and in it were the pieces of paper Lila had talked about. Shreds of the check Buddy had left on the dresser. Under the bag was the list of names she'd mentioned. I knew everyone, including my own last name. Yeah. This was just the kind of thing my father would be involved in. I went and got my own cellophane tape. I was good at puzzles, and I would put the pieces of the check together, and I would have the answer I needed.
It seemed to Tess that she fell for a long time. Her landing was softened by a pool of muddy water. It shocked her, but aside from being covered in thick brown sludge, she was all right. Tess stood up slowly and found herself in a huge rectangular mud hole. Hoping that the angry dog above her would scare away her attacker, she began trying to claw her way up the slippery walls of the pit. But it was hopeless. She kept sliding back down.
Oh, quit that barking, you stupid canine! Go get some help! Haven't you ever heard of Lassie?
Suddenly, a beam of light shone down on her from above.
Hey, down there! Couldn't you wait until the pool was finished? Hey, are you okay? Yeah, I'll get you out of there.
Could this be the person who'd been chasing her, Tess thought? No, it was an older voice. No one she knew. A rope was thrown down, weaving in front of her like a flag of freedom.
Hang on tight now, and I'll haul you up.
Tess hung on with every ounce of energy she had left, and slipping and sputtering against the oozing mud wall, she was dragged up to the top.
Oh, look at me.
How on earth did you get down there?
Oh, I'm sorry I used your new pool without permission. Aren't you Mr. Slaughter, Trudy's father?
That's right.
I'm Tess Landers.
Oh, Guy Joe's daughter?
Yeah.
Well, Miss Landers, how did you get into my pool?
Tess couldn't say she'd been pushed. He might have called the police, and she had no answers for them. But she couldn't help thinking how close Trudy Slaughter lived to these woods.
My car broke down, and I was taking a shortcut home, but I don't have a flashlight, and I got lost.
Oh, well, good thing Bo here doesn't like intruders. Well, Trudy isn't home, but I'm sure she'd want you to come in and borrow some dry clothes.
Oh,
Well, of course she wasn't home, Tess thought. She couldn't go running home so soon after pushing Tess into the pool, could she? Tess had no intention of setting foot inside Trudy Slaughter's house.
I'd really rather go to my house, Mr. Slaughter. If you could find an old blanket or something to cover your car seat, maybe you could drive me? I am covered with mud.
Sure thing. I'll be right back.
Tess felt he might not have agreed if he'd known she was going home to an empty house, so she didn't tell him that. When they pulled up at the condo, Sam was outside, sitting in his car.
Is that your brother?
Oh, no, that's Sam Oliver.
Oh, Trent's boy?
Mm-hmm.
A friend of yours, I guess, so you'll be okay then.
Yeah, I'll be fine now. Thanks for everything.
Okay.
Tess! Hey, what happened to you? You look like you just had a mud bath.
You don't look much better.
And it was true. He was almost as wet and muddy as she was. Could Sam have been running around in the woods? Tess asked herself.
I'll take you to your father's. You can get cleaned up there and have a good night's sleep.
No, thank you. We have plenty of soap and water here.
Tess, I went to the hospital to see if you'd left, and I saw what someone did to your car. Beak and Candace were pretty worried when I told them.
Was Trudy with them?
Weren't you just with Trudy? Wasn't that her old man who brought you back?
Trudy wasn't with us. I'm going inside, Sam.
No, wait a minute. I talked to my dad tonight. He said Chief Chalmers will be issuing a statement tomorrow saying the Devil's Elbow crash was an unavoidable accident.
Huh.
Maybe it was, Tess.
Since when do you take your father's or Chalmers' word for anything? Now you're taking their side.
There isn't any side. This isn't a war, Tess.
Oh, isn't it? Good night, Sam.
She marched inside and went around the house, locking up. She had a long hot bath and was heading for bed when the phone rang. This time she thought if it was Shelley, she'd give her a piece of her mind.
Hello?
Happy birthday to Trudy. Happy birthday to Trudy. Happy birthday to Trudy. May she live till you die.
Liars. They're going to announce that the Devil's Elbow crash was caused by a loose rail. They know it wasn't. It's time to do something they can't say is accidental. I know they're worried. I even saw my father eyeing the attic door last night. Is he remembering the journal? Why didn't he get rid of it a long time ago? Ego, maybe. Well, if he does go looking for it, he'll never find it. I've hidden it. When my plan is finished, I'll send it to someone I can trust. The people of Santa Luisa have a right to the truth, like I had a right to it. It didn't take me long to put that shredded check together, and when I did, there was the signature, a name I knew well. It had signed those checks I got instead of birthday presents. My father's name. I looked at the date on the check. It was my birthday. Suddenly, everything was clear. I wasn't who I thought I was. My last name was really O'Hare.
On Friday, a bulletin on Santa Luisa radio announced that the Devil's Elbow crash had been the result of a loose rail. In the hospital, Gina told Tess that she must have fallen over a railing in the funhouse by accident. "It's over and done with, Tess," she said. "Can't you relax?" But Tess couldn't. This wasn't the end of it. She was sure of that. On Saturday night, she went to Trudy's party. Everyone there had parents on the board. Tess hoped if she kept her eyes and ears open, she might come up with some answers. Darkness had fallen when Tess arrived on the beach below the boardwalk. The rain had stopped, and Sam and Guy Joe had already built a small, cozy fire. Trudy sat in a lawn chair, dressed in a far too elegant yellow jumpsuit, like a queen waiting to greet her subjects. Candace was busy removing food from a wicker hamper. Doss arrived, then Beak, holding a bouquet of balloons.
Yesterday, I'm sure it was. It wasn't.
It was.
Hey there.
there, birthday lady. Where are the edibles?
Here, Beak, take this temptation out of my sight.
Oh.
Chocolate brownies play havoc with my waistline.
Yeah, watch him play with mine.
Beak took 2 brownies, stuffed them in his mouth, donned a pink crepe paper party hat, and began dancing on the sand to the music from the cassette player.
Beak, you look like a psychotic chicken.
Tess?
Oh, Sam!
Oh, for Pete's sake, relax. What's the matter with you?
Nothing. You just shouldn't sneak up on people like that.
Well, you look lonesome over here. I hoped you'd be more relaxed now that we know the crash was an accident.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a big relief, isn't it?
You want to take a walk down to the water with me?
Tess shook her head. Since she was the only one who expected something bad to happen, she needed to keep her eyes open. Maybe she could prevent another disaster. Tess hesitated, watching Doss, who was sitting off by himself. If it was Doss who caused the crash, this would be the perfect time for him to strike again. With Gina in the hospital, he wouldn't have to worry about accidentally hurting her while he targeted the others.
Well then, walk up the beach a little way with me. Come on.
Well, Trudy hasn't opened her presents yet.
Yeah, I noticed. She's too wrapped up in your brother to unwrap presents.
Oh, very funny.
Wasn't supposed to be funny.
I wish Trudy would open her presents and feed us. I am starved.
Here, have a brownie.
No, too sweet and gooey, I'd be sick. Trudy promised us hot dogs.
Well, while we're waiting, have a walk with me.
Tess glanced over at the group cavorting on the sand. Guy Joe was held captive by Trudy, and Doss was delving into the brownie box. They looked safe enough, Tess thought.
Okay, Sam, let's walk. But just for a few minutes, we can't go far.
They plodded silently across the sand. The night wind tugged gently at Tess's hair, and she walked with her head down. She didn't notice until too late that they were approaching the Devil's Elbow.
Oh, I don't want to be here, Sam. Oh, let's go back.
Oh, don't be silly, Tess. The roller coaster isn't even working now. What's there to be scared of?
It just gives me the creeps, that's all.
You are turning into a nervous wreck. If you don't relax,
Of course
you can...
I'm a nervous wreck. You would be, too. Haven't you noticed that all the kids badly hurt so far have parents on the Boardwalk's board of directors?
What?
Yes, your father is a director. Mine is
That
too.
never even crossed my mind.
Well, can't you admit it's a possibility? That someone is out to ruin the boardwalk and hurt a lot of people at the same time?
You got any idea who this crazy phantom of yours might be?
No. I have a couple possibilities, but no proof.
Look, I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but if you're even close to the truth, why haven't you moved back to your father's house? There's no time for someone like you to be all alone in the condo out there in the woods.
Someone like me? What's that supposed to mean? Why can't you take me seriously? Sam, why can't you admit that everything I've said makes sense?
Tess.
What?
There, is that taking you seriously enough?
What is that? Some kind of therapy for nervous wrecks? Well, it didn't work. I still think I'm right. And until you do too, I don't want to talk to you.
Oh, I give up.
Tess watched Sam until he became a blur in the darkness. She sat down in the sand for a while to cool off. Then she thought she'd rejoin the party. The sand was damp and soothed her fingers as she dug them into it. She watched the surf rolling softly onto the shore. Then, in the sand, Tess's fingers touched something hard and sharp. She pulled out the object and turned it towards the lights on the boardwalk. It was a stone, some sort of blue gem. Not very valuable, she thought. And then she realized. Of course, it was the kind of stone worn in Santa Luisa high school rings. She never wore hers. It was too bulky, but lots of people did wear them. She stood up with the gem in her hand and looked around, frowning. She had been sitting directly beneath the Devil's Elbow. Could that mean the stone belonged to the person who had tampered with the roller coaster? Tess slipped the stone into the pocket of her red long-sleeved shirt and hurried back to the party. She was halfway there when the quiet hit her. There was no noise coming from the spot where her friends had been. Had they left without her? No, they wouldn't do that. Guy Joe wouldn't. Running across the hard-packed sand, her heart pounding, Tess finally heard sounds from the direction of the blankets. But they weren't party sounds.